I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out and I'll lay your shit bare. See how I leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire started in my heart, reaching your deeper visions, bringing me out the dark. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the
Testing,
deep.
testing, testing.
Y'all familiar with Six Nations?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a round of applause for Six Nations, please, because I'll share a real brief story because I was so, I've always loved and respected our indigenous people from coming from back home and from understanding what you've gone through and the terrorism that you have suffered, at the hands of the colonizers. So when I came up here and I found out in Six Nations there was a struggle for land and the government was trying to turn it around into private homes and whatnot. And at one point, the KKK was out there handing out flyers that they were going to slaughter the Indians, quote unquote. When I found out about that flyer, I called some of my homeboys up from Toronto, a couple of Jamaican brothers real big like myself, and we're like, yo, we can't let this happen to our people. So we drove out to Six Nations and we found out who to talk to because you can't just show up in a territory without knowing anybody, especially the way I look. So we found out who to talk to. And we went out there, and we were ready for whatever. You know what I mean? We're not going to let nothing happen to our native brothers. So we went out there, and we got out, and one of the brothers came out, all decked out and everything in his fatigues. And we're like, yeah, man, we heard, the KKK's here, man. Like, what you need from us? And he just looked at me, and he's like, you don't know about our great law of peace, do you? And I was like, not really, man, but we ready to whoop somebody's ass out here. Like, we don't want you guys to go through any problems. So we're here. And then he looked at me and he laughed and he's like, come with me, we need you to talk to one of the clan mothers. So I was like, cool, we'll talk to the clan mother, we're gonna tell her like we're here, you know what I mean? We got whatever, we're here. So she sat us down and explained to us about the great law of peace, of our Six Nations people, and we wound up serving food in the soup kitchen. We weren't fighting nobody, we were out there to be polite. And we got schooled, I got real humbled. So, that was my first experience in Six Nations, and it was beautiful. Resilient people, the land is still there, it hasn't been touched. They started taking down all the houses that they were building over the ancestral burial grounds. And I was so inspired that I actually wrote this poem that I'm going to share with you, and it actually got on the radio, which baffles me because I didn't think what I'm about to share would wind up on the radio. But it's an honor of Six Nations, but it's an honor of all of you that are here, that are smiling. Just the fact that you're here and you're smiling is beautiful, so give yourselves a round of applause, please. And please, round of applause for Deanna, because y'all would be in class learning about algorithms and calculus or something if it wasn't for her, and everybody else that put this conference together. So here's a poem. This is spoken word. For every political refugee who never made it to Canada, who never made it in Canada, whose presence soon became hated in Canada, and whose children never related to Canada. I was that child who was not made, only shaped in Canada. My true home was and always will be Guatemala. Yo soy un Latino, hijo de la revolución, respectful of all our ancestral cultures that thrived before la colonización. And I wrote these words on behalf of every indigenous mother who had her fetus cut out of her womb by the only terrorists we have ever known in America Latina. Those diabolical soldiers from Mexico to Argentina who were trained in the School of the Americas by the U.S. And yes, on behalf of every indigenous grandmother and grandfather of this land, I beg the listener to please understand that this land was not made in Canada. Canada was made in Turtle Island. The birth of this nation was violent, and the suffering inflicted on our indigenous peoples remained silent. Silent like rush hour traffic and public transport in the city of Toronto. Man, that's the most depressing group of people that I've ever seen. Each time I get on the train and I'm late for work and I'm yawning, I look at these people that look like they're scared to death of talking. And it depresses the hell out of me, man. That's not how I was raised. Let me take you back home to Guatemala's public transport to show you what I'd seen. Before the bus even left the terminal, a woman would get on with a heavy basket filled with tasty food inside. She'd put it down, look the passengers in the eye, and then she'd cry, "Tamales, tortillas, elotes." That's the food that she was selling. And before the driver pulled out the terminal, he'd blast that merengue. Música de camioneta, we call it. And before you know it, ding, 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 ding. Back to Canada. Shh. silent in public in Canada. Canadians are very polite people, aren't they? Well, except for those racist rednecks in Caledonia. I meant the progressive ones. You know, the ones who say they're not racist because they have black friends, but there's something discomforting about how politically correct they are, and it's like they sit around in a room and they say, no, don't call them Indians, call them natives, no, call them aboriginals, no, call them First Nations. Canadians are great at giving nice names, but they won't solve the problem. Forced residential schools on Indigenous people after they rob them. They won't supply electricity or running water to some reservations, and they're still trying to steal Caledonia from Six Nations. But hey, politically correct names are made in Canada. Look, y'all can call me a lazy, gang-banging, wetback, illegal immigrant spick for all that I care. Just please stop deporting my people, because this country's in a crisis. 1 in 6 Torontonians is living in poverty. Up to 60% of black boys and Latino boys at risk of becoming state property because they're getting pushed out of the school system, and hell yes, it's racism. Gun crime levels have risen because the origin of the guns is never disclosed. So here's a newsflash to the media wondering where the guns are coming from. Guns are actually made in Canada. So it's polite silence, police violence, and so was apartheid. Y'all know about apartheid? European colonizers terrorizing black South African victims. It's sickening. Picture an army of foreign-skinned colonizers invading your communities, raping your women, jailing your children, demolishing houses with the residents still living inside, violating UN resolutions by building a wall of apartheid in Palestine. My sisters and brothers in Palestine are begging me to tell the world that supporting the boycott, divestment, sanctions campaign against the state of Israel is not an act of anti-Semitism. I think it's Canadian. But hey, if my words have offended you, I don't write my poems to try to make friends with you. At the end of the day, my people live with these problems. I'm just trying to figure out how to solve them, and the first step is to break this polite silence of stupidity. Because the last thing my auntie ever told me was, Luis Eduardo, your poetry is a gift from God and you must share your words with the world. The next day, a brain aneurysm took hold of her. 5 days later, death took hold of her. But while she was still alive, my poetry took hold of her, and the last thing she told me as she looked me in the eye and I started to cry was, Luis Eduardo, tu poesía es un regalo de Dios. Debes de compartir tus palabras con el mundo. So here you go, auntie. Made in Canada.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need your help, okay? And this is the only way I'm going to do it is if you help me out, okay? You all been to powwow, right? And you know, Nifty, give me a hand. You know powwow? Okay, I want you to use your hands, and I want you to do round dance like woodland style. We're not going to do it Cree style, eh? We're woodland, okay? Not Cree. So we're going to go. Let's go together, like that. Keep that going. Don't race. Just rock it. Okay? Keep it going. Don't tell my wife about this. That's my sister-in-law out there. All right. Welcome to a nation of creation. We are a people called Anishinaabe Nation. A people of spirit of creation. Our community is called Wikwemikong. No, we're not a part of Hong Kong, but we are big like King Kong. LOL. I just took me 5 minutes to write. Did I pass? Right on. Gonna do a couple of things. We're gonna introduce some speakers to you so you know where you're going at, but there's some beautiful ladies and some good-looking guys that are walking around in these blue shirts. You see them? The blue shirts, stand up. These are our volunteers here today, and they're going to be going to the workshops, but they're gonna also hand out what is called a workshop evaluation. You don't have to write anything. All you have to do is tick it off and then give it to them. The ones that are in the blue shirts in the workshop, they're going to put it in a draw. It's a surprise draw. I can't tell you what it is, but it's really sweet. But you can't get this evaluation form unless you go check out a workshop. I know you're going to go check it out now because I'm really having a good time here and I'm really excited about this, and I'm going to go learn about modeling, I think, yeah. Since I don't got big belly anymore. But that's the only way you get one of these. And to you folks in the blue shirts, our volunteers, you gotta see Lawrence a little bit later. He's in the green jacket, okay? He's gonna have a real short meeting with you. And as we get into it, we want to introduce some folks. Hopefully they're still in the room here. We're going to give you some time to take a little bit of break, but we're going to start right at 11 o'clock for our workshop. But me and Deanna, I asked her to come up and give me a hand. I want to introduce to you, like Deanna, just to remind you, if you are in for workshop number 1, which is in room.
You just gotta make sure you click on the number before you paste it. And I want you pretty much just to fill up that whole blue section with copy and pasting. Just fill it up, paste it.
Anyways, you see a little bit of what's going on today. And yeah, working at TV5. Got my buddy Mark over there. Yeah, right now we're checking out some B-boy and whatnot. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit, and maybe I'll get a little bit of few show-ins from some of the people that are around here. Yeah, all right. Fucking badass. Yeah. Big sexy. As you can see, DJ Indian, we got Chris Pleasant Pheasant. Yeah. Yeah, end of the day. I'm getting a ride home. Nicole, you've seen her before.
We're gonna crash.
She's gonna crash, hopefully.
200 points.
Wow. Yeah. So you've seen a little bit of spoken word. Pretty sure they call it slam poetry too. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey. Yeah. See you guys tomorrow. I'm going to bed as soon as I get home.
Early.